A SOUQ morning, this lovely morning, as we welcome you to SOUQ Business Landscape. As usual, we're just having a laugh behind before the cameras came on. It's a lovely Wednesday, if I'm not mistaken. It's Wednesday, 29th of May. I have to be careful because the month has come to an end and we have to also, you know how it is. Weekend begins on Thursday on SOUQ and the IFM. My name is Ike Namba. My special anti-usualist analysts are here with me. As usual, Dr. Idahosa Osamhanze. Welcome to the show.
Good Nigeria, Ikena, the month is still having some day left, so it's not ended yet.
You had to point that out. Also, to my closest right, far right, Chooks, John Rogers. Welcome to the show, halfway.
Good morning, Ikena. Good morning, Nigeria. Is the far right I don't understand.
Good morning, the world. Good morning, the continents. Because we're being viewed across the world.
Oh yes, good morning, the globe. Good morning, Africa. Good morning, Nigeria.
Good morning, Mars.
Good Nigeria, as usual, like I like to say all the time. So we'll jump right to it, Business Day. Lawmakers, CBN Act review, gambles with economic chaos. Now, from looking at this little bit of the story, lawmakers are looking to control the CBN. Don't we have enough to worry about? Nigeria has gone from the biggest economy to number 4 on the list, behind South Africa, Egypt, and Algeria. Why are lawmakers looking at controlling CBN?
I don't think that line came out well. I'm not saying correct. What
the difference?
What lawmakers have is oversight function, not control. The central bank they're autonomous. So they have a duty. So it's not the National Assembly that determine what they should do. They only oversee, ask questions.
You're talking about what is and what should be. Yeah. Today, the act is saying, is suspecting, which is what the headline is saying, suspecting that they're about to enact an act that will give them control over CBN.
Yeah, but I think National Assembly has the duty to make law for the good governance of the state. That Act 2007, the CBN Act 2007 has been there, but you see, it gives a kind of autonomy and huge discretion to the CBN to do a lot of things. And from information that is in public space today, the last CBN governor abused some of those privileges.
But also remember that they were part of those that fronted that particular law.
Yeah, but you see, 2007, the law was there. And what Apple is talking about, that for you to be able to really stabilize the monetary policy of a state, then you will need to have an independent CBN that is able to determine the monetary policy of the state.
An independent CBN with a board.
Yes, but as at today,
not shared by the CBN governor.
No. Because the ASIS, the chairman of the board, is also the governor of the CBN. That's where the issues really were. So the governor of CBN became like a leviathan, as it were. And so he could, even without the approval of the president, do a lot of things. Which, of course, we saw where that left us between 2015 to 2023, where, of course, we are trying to get out of some of the very terrible decisions that the CBN governor had to take, even with the effrontery, to even be campaigning as a sitting CBN governor. So this is because the power was just too much, and that is what people say. Power corrupts. Absolute power corrupts absolutely. Because when you have authority added to discretion, what you find most of the time is corruption. And I think that is from the point of view that the National Assembly trying to look at it, that this act, we need to review it so that at least even the person who is supervising also have a supervisor to a very large extent. And so see this committee come together to really sit down and review both fiscal and monetary policy so that it can be in tandem. Because if there's anything that really distorts our economy, is the non-alignment of both fiscal and monetary policy. You remember when the issue of the redesign of the currency came during the other CBN government. Then, of course, some press people talked to the Minister of Finance and said, look, what is it? He said, I'm not aware. So this is because the CBN has power to make some decisions that can affect the economy, and of course, without putting into consideration what is happening to the fiscal measures that are in place. Yeah, but of course, you will find this advocate because a lot of people benefited from that regime. And I really will see that plenty of people will be talking about how this will rob CBN of autonomy, and therefore they will not be able to stabilize the exchange rate and the rate of lending. I don't know how stable it has been between 2007 and today, even with the whole of autonomy. If we had to use the case of Sri Lanka and Argentina, for example, or Zimbabwe, to say, oh, these people, they don't have autonomy, that's why they are not. But we are also having a CBN with huge autonomy, but we don't have a stable FS, we don't have a stable rate of lending. And I don't see the argument as valid that, oh, if we take part of CBN's autonomy, maybe they will not be able to function. But for me, what is critical is the fact that how are we going to safeguard the abuse of privilege, the abuse of position, the abuse of the act that established itself. Take, for example, the ways and means. The law says that CBN can only use ways and means to a certain extent. And that is to say that if you have used ways and means, the government must have been able to pay back
before you do
another one. But we see a series of ways and means that were implemented without even paying attention to the act that set itself up.
On a regular basis.
Yes, I think this is where, of course, yeah, you may have somebody who said is right, and it can be, and it will be a plus. But when you have somebody whose mind is corrupt, and you give him such autonomy, it will be abused, definitely. And I think the regulator sometimes needs some measure of regulation.
So basically what this is they're trying to divest powers.
Yes, of course. So that you have a committee, so that CBN can just wake up to raise rate. It has to align.
Outside this place, from the people who copied democracy from, the same thing happens. Their central bank won't just wake up on their own without defending what they want to do first, be it at the Senate or be it at the reps. But here, the opposite is what we get to see. Especially what happened between the period of time you mentioned.
Yeah, but you see, the real, what I put it now, that alignment between fiscal and monetary policy is very critical for economic success and growth. Otherwise, you see, the CBN governor is an appointee of the president. The finance minister is an appointee of the government. And therefore, both of them are actually in the arm of the executive. And so the executive arm of government, if they have a philosophy or a vision that they are going to pursue, must be doing same thing. So which means before the CBN government will act, it must put into perspective what the focus of the government is. If the president is saying, for example, nobody can do business with the kind of rate that we are having, because I heard him say this several times in his campaign.
Bringing down the 2 digits length.
Yes, that we should be aiming at a single digit interest rate.
But the CBN is
now you have a CBN who is doing something that is contrary. The finance minister is struggling to see how to reduce the tax burden so that you see the economy can function. And on the other side, you see a CBN who is raising rates, making it difficult to access facility. So this disjoint in or dissonance in both fiscal and monetary policy will not help the performance of the regime. So I think this is where, of course, you see, Senate is asking, can't we really review this thing so that you have a committee who sit down,
Oversee his function
both fiscal and monetary policy
to align.
so that we don't see a CBN governor who is another president.
To be. Next headline, still on Business Day in Nigeria. Higher for longer, the consequence of continuous CBN rate hikes. So last week, CBN has raised the monetary policy rate for the 5th time this year. CBN seems to be in trouble.
They are definitely not in trouble. This headline,
5 times?
They are not in trouble. They have gone over the edge.
I see what you mean.
This particular headline has been addressed already from what he said. You can't keep raising rates not thinking of who is affected. Businesses are definitely going to fail because that capital they need, they can't raise it. Even when they do, it takes the profit, it takes the working capital in the first.
Businesses are failing already and falling by the wayside.
Yeah, it's very important. And I think it's the logic of the thinking. Like when the CBN governor was speaking at the 295 MPC meeting, after the MPC meeting, he said, that the measures that he took in February seems to be yielding positive results. And I argued against that here on one of our shows that, look, he can't say so because he needs to also look at other factors that would have made inflation to have cowered in the month of April. Not necessarily because the policy were tightened. We saw the fact that the CBN were making very substantial efforts in regulating the BDCs. I remember that I think it was in the month of March when I was in Rwanda, and of course this was a road that in some places in Abuja people were even selling their FS for as low as 900 in Bega area of Abuja.
Why? To dispose of it?
Oh yeah, because people were going to get rid of it. A lot of people who had access in dollar were, because they saw that CBN was moving toward a certain direction. And so they decided to quickly ease it out.
If only they knew.
If only they knew. So they eased it out, and then of course that helped. Because we must all realize that, look, the real issue and the driver of our inflation is not really because there's excess money. The cost that is pushing our inflation is external, directed to our economy. And this is because when you have a high SF or FS rate, the sellers or the traders factor it into pricing. And as traders are factoring this into pricing, those who are doing logistics, they're also factoring it into their prices. Because I hear some argument where people say, are they also buying ugu with $1? But the truth of the matter is that the woman who is bringing ugu from the market is relying on petrol that is imported with dollar.
To transport.
Or to transport his goods to the market. So if the price of petrol increases or the rate of dollar gets up, of course it affects the woman. So there's no way there'll be no price hike, no matter where you're operating. Because it's like a ripple effect. You drop it at the center, it spreads everywhere. So this is what CBN need to understand. That when you are looking at an economy, you are not going to be looking at it from one point of view that inflation is easing because you have tightened, or that because people are borrowing. And I think what they need to have done is to do audit of the people who borrow in this period and see their ability to be able to actually repay.
Payback. Correct.
Then you will be able to say, our tightening policy is working. So I feel really what really had helped the inflation at that point was the fact that the price of dollar came down a little bit to about 1,100. And today it's gone back to 1,500. And of course, we are going to see the inflation figure for May going up because it's not going to go down because it's responding not to the tightening, it's responding to the external shocks that affects our economy.
If we get to ask why or what really made it come down, there'll be a whole lot of answers. But let's not go there.
Troubling times that we must abate. Well, off to Business Daily. In Kenya, doctors hit patients with cash bills on ATM's roll. So patients with insurance face double jeopardy, which is not likely to be right. Medics snub new tax system on data privacy breaches. So doctors are forcing patients to pay medical bills in cash. And if there is any reimbursement, they should come back to it and find a way to deal with that. How?
You know what? When system fails, this is what you get. You have an insurance system that is not working. You have a national health insurance policy that says, okay, staff of whether government parastatals or private parastatal businesses have health insurance, and then of course you have this insurance, and then the hospitals are chasing their money and they cannot find it from either government or private people. So what are you going to do in that case? You find that of course you must be thinking out of the box and see, how do I get my money? So I think that's the issue, where of course we make a lot of promises. I think this is worse off, really, with government businesses. You know, in Nigeria, yesterday I saw the chairman of UBA, Tony Elumelu, asking federal government, please try pay up what you are owing electricity distributors and generators. 1.3 trillion. That's what government is owing.
How can there be light?
Except God says, let there be light. So these are some of the things you find, that government do business with private people and they are not able to meet their obligations. And so what do you see happen? See, these private business people must be thinking of creative ways to get their money off the patient. So what they're saying is that, well, if you come for head, give us money, then you go and make a claim there.
So you see how we're feeling.
It's also two ways, apart from the people that you're supposed to pay, the patient also, because for them to have the insurance, they've collected premium somehow, and they believe that they will get service.
Yeah, but that is what it is. If look at how a health insurance policy work. You see that it is taken from your salary.
Yes, or you pay directly.
You pay directly. No, you pay directly to the insurance.
You pay, yes.
Now, what if the hospitals are not getting their own remittance?
That's where it is now. So not just the hospital suffering, the patient is also suffering.
So what the hospital is saying, well, I don't have a business with your insurance company.
Just pay for my service.
Pay for my service, then you can go and sort yourself out later.
So is it that they are not able, or they don't want to?
Who is not able?
The insurance companies.
Well,
because if the hospitals are demanding
we need
cash,
to send you to Kenya to find out.
No, because if you take such a decision, if the money is there, then it's wrong. It's akin to corruption.
Yeah, but you see, the problem also is to see the way we have borrowed ourselves out in Africa. Anywhere you see money, you just have to find a way to borrow it.
Do you really want to go there?
So hoping that you are able to pay it later. So this also affects a lot of corporations, so that you are finding that you are doing business, especially with government, and then you really don't get a headway. So you are owed heavily. And of course, the downturn in the economy has also not helped issues. And where we have found that a lot of strange occurrences that also have affected the insurance industry. Take, for example, from COVID-19, a lot of insurance companies really have not been able to come out of the trauma. In the West, their government bailed them out, pay really heavily, because the hardest hit, COVID-19, were insurance companies who will need to pay a lot of claims because of people who were dying and some of the things that were happening. So government has to support them hugely in the West. But to what extent they were supported in Africa is another ballgame. So these are some of the issues. So if you have so much claim in a year, you find that the premium that you are collecting is not even able to pay for it in the first place. Take, for example, you are taking a premium of 15,000 from somebody for a service of up to 2 million.
You are taking that same premium from over 1 million people.
So what you are thinking is that when you take this premium from over 1 million people. You are expecting that some may not access that facility. You have a certain percentage of people in your heart that will be able to do or access those facilities. And you're also expecting that somehow you will be able to invest some of this fund and make profit to be able to do or settle the claims when they arises. But here you find that you are having economic downturn. If you put it in one investment, the investment is going down, so you can't make profit out of it. So the insurance company themselves find themselves somehow in a quagmire.
Okay, why is it that is when they have issues get to here? When they don't have issues and making all the profit and closing the sales of the year and redistributing wealth among themselves, we don't get to hear that one?
I'm not aware.
Okay, good. When they were borrowing government money, both pension money and government taking loans from them, we don't get to hear that one.
And you know,
I have no idea.
They get to spend some of this money expecting that, you know, it's not going to be accessed and asked for. Next headline, how CDN Bank was forced to pay 444 million in botched sale. So 2 years ago, CDN Bank welcomed new suitor, Access Bank, and right now they're talking about botched sales. What's going on? Access Bank seemed to be, you know, making some moves.
Seems to be buying up every
they're climbing to the top, and that's a good thing, despite the fact that the man passed away the other day. But it's not affecting it. That's him, right?
Yes, that's. But the bank, they started with Diamond Bank. That was one of the major banks.
Yes, that they swallowed up.
And we were thinking Diamond Bank was that big, but
no, it's not really Diamond. They started with Intercontinental.
Oh, for real?
Long time. Okay.
Oh, yes.
Intercontinental.
They swallowed the Intercontinental
First.
Oh, yeah. And people still talk about the mystery
behind
of Access swallowing Intercontinental.
Because it's still a mystery, because it was looked at as a small bank.
And this is somehow part of the issues that we really need to talk about in our economy.
We need to talk about or
investigate. The parable of Erastus Akibola still rings in my head. The Yahoo boy and their masters. He told the story of a certain Yahoo boy who was very intelligent, and the Yahoo boy had the password of all the big men who were in business with him, because he was internet savvy. He knows all these things, so they don't know the password. So he's the one who tells them, this is it, they want to take money, it comes from them. And he said on a certain day, the Yahoo boy was going out and he had an accident and he died. And all the big men were crying. And nobody knew why they were crying.
At the funeral.
At the funeral. And so people were wondering. So they loved this Yahoo boy so well. And they said, oh, passwords are gone.
Okay. So the love is for what they lost and not the human being. Anyway, on to Economic Times. Tata Sons shares are not transferable, says Trust. Now, if you have a trust, right, shouldn't their work be, one of their jobs should be to be able to enable transferable shares?
Now it depends on what is written on the will, or what is the letter on the will. So if it's written that this should not be transferable, so it is.
No, but I don't think it's even the issue of transferability that is the problem with Tata now. The problem is people are afraid or envisage some legal issues when this thing comes up. Because they've used the shares to borrow money 2 times. You are going to use it 3rd time. So it's not whether it is transferable. Yes, you have transferred the right to somebody else.
How valuable?
You have transferred the same right to somebody else. Now you want to transfer it a 3rd time. Now somebody is asking, if you transfer it 3rd time, what if that person that you transfer it to say, okay, well, this thing belongs to me.
I'm selling off.
So what happened? So this is the real issue. So business people are also very careful so that you don't get into trouble. You're having assets, and then assets say, oh, I have stock here that I can use to settle bills when the time comes. And then the owner, now, of course, by entering into a collateral arrangement with a lender, what you have done is that you have actually ceded your right over that share. So you can actually not claim full ownership. You could argue that, oh, yes, the value of what I am owing this person is not equal to the entire stock that I'm holding in this company. But you find that what happens if stock dive?
So they get to pay. Somebody has to pay.
Somebody has to pay. And I think that is why they back and forth here, and the company is saying, yes, we know, but somebody is just...
The trust right now, is the trust the company, or trust is trust holding on behalf of?
No, it's a trust that is holding now here. And I say, yes, the argument is we want to use this to settle a new lender. And the company is saying, no, you don't have this stock, is no longer transferable. So the trust is saying it is transferable because that's what is on the will, that I can transfer it. Now, but the issue is that you have used it to borrow 1-2 times. So in the real sense of the word, is it really actually legally transferable? Because if you have given your holding to me, you have transferred it already.
You can go and transfer it to someone else.
The only way it becomes transferable again in the eye of the law is when
to the next son.
You have been able to pay back.
And if you used to borrow.
Yeah, of course, it has been used to borrow. That is what exactly the issue is here. So if you have been able to pay back, then you have owned it again. Then it becomes transferable again. But now that you have it in the hand of a third party, you cannot actually say it is transferable. Yes, in the way it is transferable, but you have already transferred it to somebody who is holding it in trust right now as against your trustee. So this is the nitty-gritty of the law of inheritance as it is.
Well, Tata is a very big company.
Oh, yes.
So,
yes.
Well, these are personal issues.
Yeah, but personal issues, of course,
that
also affect public issues.
Affect shareholders.
Eventually become public issues. Because if Tata go on that right now, the whole of India is in trouble.
You're running helter-skelter. All right, so we're on to Financial Time. Financial Express, Bangladesh. Ease of doing business 2.0 on the anvil. So they're celebrating the ease of doing business. Bangladesh has always been in the news. You know, for the past 2, 3, 4 episodes of the show, we've learned that their economy is growing, and ease of doing business here, they're talking about it on the rise.
Yeah, but I think what Bangladesh is also trying to do is that, of course, the world IMF keep measuring the ease of doing business. People bringing in money. They need more money in the environment. But what they're doing, you are computing now the entire money that actually will take a businessman to invest in your country. And you're trying to see what part of it do I remove so that I become investment friendly. So the thinking around government right now is to see how do we remove the cost of regulation.
How do we make it easier for you
so
to
that
bring in your
it
money?
will become easier for people to bring in money into Bangladesh. And I think that is what it is. They are doing well already.
And also make profit, not just bring in money.
Yeah, bring money and make profit, because that is what it is. So it's easy for people to enter into your economy and then do business, and every businessman get into business to make profit. So they're trying to see how to improve on the ease of doing business in Baghdad so that it become another haven for world investors. And I think many African countries also need to borrow a leaf from all of that to see how do we reduce the cost of regulation, and this help people to really move money to your economy. We talked the other time, they were trying to see how to also ensure that all this collection that is done across agency become one-stop shop in Bangladesh, that at the end of the day, you pay the tax at where value is added, and not this agency collecting some, this collecting some, this collecting some, and then, of course, it becomes really very difficult for people to do business. And I think most African states also need to learn from this kind of regulation, because once people see that there's opportunity to make profit in your economy, definitely they will bring in money.
Some time ago, we had similar kind of pursuit for those in Nigeria. The CAC, business registration, had to create a portal whereby if you're coming from outside the country, you don't need to spend 4, 5, 1 week trying to register a business, for some more than that. So within that particular portal, for one single day, you could get your business registered through CAC and also get your TIN and every tax certificate you needed for that registration. Now we need to go beyond that particular point whereby if I'm bringing in funds or if I have to get consultancy, there is a particular point I get to meet and I get every one of these sorted out instead of, just like Doctor said, clearing through different agencies or having to consult through different agencies and through different consultants. And at the end of the day, what I really want to invest is depleted.
I have made this argument with some government functionaries some time ago. Ease of doing business is much more than obtaining certificate of incorporation.
That's not the actual work.
That's not the ease of doing business.
But that's more like a starting point.
Yeah, but you see, anybody can. I would prefer to take 10 months to register a business, but when I come in to do my business, I ensure that everything that will make business prosper is working. I told you of a friend of mine before, an Indian, who was buying garlic and sesame seed from Nigeria here, and saw how bad roads spoil business for him, and they have to leave and go to a smaller country to buy same. Because by the time you add the cost of logistics, which is compounded by bad roads,
Paying a lot more.
and the lack of infrastructure, even in the ports, you'll find that you cannot become competitive where you are selling. Because if I'm taking this thing out of Nigeria and I'm taking it to London, and somebody's taking out from maybe Zimbabwe or taking from Kenya to save London, they are not going to say, oh, because it's coming from Nigeria, they are going to pay more pound. So you find that the one who is investing in Nigeria will not be able to make profit outside. So this is where, of course, the reduction in the cost of regulation, which is what Bangladesh is emphasizing, become something that is very, very important. Take, for example, just want to start a chin-chin business. We are frying chin-chin. Go and check out how much it is to register with NAFDAC.
Okay.
I hear,
Now,
I hear you have to
hold on,
submit
hold on.
like
Before
20 jars of chin-chin for testing.
I would like to be a tester. Now, before we get to before we hit this part, now this is my point. If CAC could do it, because if you know CAC what they were before, you will know that that place is a no-go area.
True.
If CAC could do it, others can also do it. If CAC could say, okay, let's clean up, others can also say, let's clean up. And we should say, hey, if these people can do it, you people should also get your ass together. Because if we just leave it like that, every other person will act. Because if we look at it this way, what about those that wake up in the morning? The first set to come and collect Owo Road, another person will come and collect Owo Load, another person will come and collect Owo
Yeah,
Land.
but this is the real issue.
Everybody needs to get up and say,
But
no.
creating the right ecosystem for investment. So investment is not just about obtaining how easy it is to obtain a license to do business.
That side cleared their own.
No. It's not about one side. No.
But is it truth? It's not a one-way
No,
thing.
Jukes. It's not about.
Everybody needs to play a part. But
No.
if we sit down, we'll keep complaining about the bad road,
No.
the light,
No.
the tax.
Once
It is
we
what it is.
continue to act in silos like this, we cannot make progress.
Okay. Where does the buck stop?
This is what I'm saying. Now, you have a regime. What these people are talking about is that the cost of regulation. You are looking at the various agencies that are involved in doing business in Bangladesh. And we're saying, how much is this costing business people to want to invest? And we are looking at it, how do we reduce it and slash it? So this make it very easy for somebody who's coming from the outside to come do business in your environment. But what you're saying here is that, oh, one agency does something, another agency does something. No, this is government, the executive arm of government, taking a decision on how to create an ecosystem that is simple. You take, for example,
On paper, they've taken that decision.
no.
Yes.
No. It has
On
not been
paper,
taken.
they've taken that
No.
On speeches, they've said it over and
No.
over again. We will do this, we will
It's
do
not.
that.
It's
Has
not
it been done?
mounting. It's not mounting. Let me give you one very
Then
simple
it
instance.
is we that should hold them responsible.
No.
Get it done.
No. Let me give you one simple instance. If you import a vehicle into UAE as of today, it doesn't matter how old the vehicle is or how new the vehicle is. The import duty, which cover what custom will collect, which custom what FRS will collect in form of tax or your VAT or everything put together, is 5%.
One cost.
One cost. So this makes it cheaper for vehicles to enter into UAE. So neighbors go there to go and buy. Here, when you come here, custom will take their own.
Differently.
Different agencies of government are taking something from the same business. That makes it very difficult.
And eventually,
So
what that
you who is an investor, you have to spend so much money trying to get your goods off
So
the port.
who are we talking to now?
So what I'm saying is that the government of Bangladesh is saying,
Let's leave Bangladesh alone.
no,
We can't leave Bangladesh. That's what we're talking about. That's the head we're talking about.
Bangladesh have
Let's
gotten
not
it right.
let's not deviate.
No,
Let's not deviate.
Bangladesh have gotten it right to a point. Now, this is where the issue is. In Africa, in Nigeria, we're trying to emulate. Who are we talking to now?
We're talking to government.
Good. Who is the government?
The governments are the leaders that are elected in the executive arm of government of every nation in Africa to sit down and look at the cost of regulation of business. So what are people paying, both formal and informal taxes, that comes in when you do business? If I want to export something from Nigeria, we look at it. What are the cost implications for me? Will it make it me competitive outside of this country? Or if I'm even going to play locally here, will it make me competitive against imported products?
Is it what?
So this is what the ease of doing business is all about. Is the fact that I also have security, that I can move around in my places. I don't need to hire a soldier or a policeman to follow me up and down.
And you have to pay too.
These are the issues.
Costs.
I was watching the chief of defense staff yesterday commissioning what is it in Kaduna, and one soldier was there carrying gun in his back.
Chief of Defense Staff.
Chief of defense staff.
Okay.
So you can imagine that if I'm a private businessman, that I have to go hire security. So all these things are issues that are involved in the ease of doing business. That's the point I'm making. So the fact that, okay, you say, well, I go into your portal, I can print out a certificate, that does not. Now, how does R simplify, for example, getting visa to come into your country? Because if I get your certificate, for example, I'm also coming to travel to come to your country. How easy is it for me to get access to come to visit you? So all these things are all the package, I'll call it, for the ease of doing business. So it's not about having...
All these are part of the package.
Yes.
That needs to be addressed by
the government.
Thank you very much.
But you had to make him repeat.
Of course,
it
yes. Now
twice.
that was where we're going.
We all know that it's the government that the buck stops at the
Yeah, but
table.
it's not me and you. So what we are just doing here...
It is me and you, because we need to talk.
No, we are shaping
need to-
policy.
we-
What we are
exactly.
saying is that
We need
if
to
you
talk.
see something that is good elsewhere, you don't need to reinvent the wheel. Just copy it, modify it to suit your environment, and let it roll. So once people have, you see, what many of us really in Africa have failed to underscore is the fact that if you get 5,000 from 1 million people, it will be bigger than getting 50,000 from 1,000 people in the long run. So the emphasis should be, how do we get 5,000 from 10 million people, rather than emphasizing getting 50,000 from 1,000 people.
I hope you heard.
So, Chooks sold his show. Keep Talking, SOUQ Pulse. Doug sold his show, Shaping Policy. And on that note, it's SOUQ Business Landscape. We'll call it a day. Same time on Friday, we'll be doing the same thing as we analyze the business headlines across the world. Still on SOUQ News Television. Stay here. Bye.